Welcome to my Vision News. Some news stories for you. First one is about Teddy Afro, the most popular singer in Ethiopia. He remained largely silent and now he's starting concerts in the US. And his first concert in a US city where Tigrayan immigrants live in large numbers. Is Teddy Afro wooing Tigrayans? Will Tigrayans attend his concert? When will this concert be organized? Secondly, Debre Morcos Gajam Zone, Debre Morcos City on Thursday. There were demonstrations in the city. I reported yesterday. We saw the same today as well. And thirdly, viewers, I remember almost a year ago, I did a video on an Eritrean girl who has been in prison for around 1 decade. She was 15 years old when she was put in prison. A year has passed, she's still in prison. Who is she? Firstly, viewers, Teddy Afro, the most popular Ethiopian singer, is going to start concerts in the US. He remained largely silent in the past few months. An Ethiopian nationalist, and some say he is an Amhara nationalist. He is liked alike by Tigrayans, Oromos, Amharas, Eritreans too as well. And his songs have historical references to, he sang in praise of emperors like Menelik, Theodorus, Helemariam. And some of his songs were used as slogans in protests, especially when EPRDF was in power in 2005. There were anti-TPLF demonstrations. His songs were used as slogans. And if you remember, a few months ago, I did a video on one of his new songs, Niyat, which was published, I think, around 5 to 6 months ago. Back then, Ethiopian federal government, Amhara regional government had launched a crackdown on dissenting voices in the Amhara region. And Fano was being dismantled. Those criticizing the government, journalists, activists were being arrested. He sang that song, Night, and in that song he implicitly criticized PM Abiy's government. He said he criticized Green Legacy program of PM Abiy, mega projects of PM Abiy's government. And then some pro-Ethiopian government singers sang songs to counter Teddy Afro's song. I did 2 videos back then, I remember. Now, Teddy Afro is going to start a series of concerts in the US. And the slogan which he is using at these concerts is Unite. Interestingly, first concert is in Denver, Colorado. And Denver is known for having large number of Tigrayan immigrants. So he's starting his tour, his concerts from Denver. It means that he wants unity, perhaps, between Tigrayans and Amharas, Tigrayans and other Ethiopians. Commendable. Should be appreciated. Though I talk to Tigrayans as well, and they say that Teddy Afro represents the narratives of Amhara elite. But if he is singing for unity, he should be backed. How many Tigrayans will attend Teddy Afro's concert in Denver, which will be held on the 11th of December? After 2 days, the concert will be held. We'll update you on the 11th of December about the Steady Afro's concert in Denver. And what about, we know that in the US, there were protests against the government, federal government, Ethiopian federal government. Some Amhara diaspora groups, they have been trying to launch a movement against Ethiopian federal government, PM Abiy's government in the US. They are accusing the government was involved in genocide of Amharas in Valaga, other parts of Ethiopia. So it will be interesting to see who will attend, who will be there at Teddy Afro's concert in Denver on the 11th of December. Secondly, viewers, second news story is from Debre Morkos, Amhara region, Gajam zone, where protests continue. Yesterday, protests were held in Debre Morkos city. Police tried to disperse the protesters. Some protesters were injured too in some confrontation between government forces and protesters. And protests continue today. Again, in Debre Morkos city, a strike was observed too. Businesses remained closed and some people protested in the city too. So, protests continuing in the Oromia region as well, where today demonstrations were held in Nejo, in Horo Godoro, Ona, Horo, Bulak, and other towns and cities of Oromia. But in Amhara region, we have not seen large number of protests after Valaga killings on weekend. We're seeing just protests in just Debre Morkos and at university in Amhara region. Mainly protests are being held in Oromia, still continuing. Thousands are attending protests there at all universities. We have seen Oromo students protest, locals as well in towns protesting. But in Amhara region, counter protests have been launched, but not many. Thirdly, viewers, almost a year ago, did a video on an Eritrean girl who was put in prison around a decade ago. Her name is Siham Abdu Ali. She was 15 years old when she was put in prison in Eritrea in 2012. Why was she imprisoned? Her father worked as Eritrean government official, as information minister of Eritrea. In 2012, I think he fled Eritrea. He managed to flee Eritrea. He arrived in Australia. His daughter was in Eritrea, Siham. Back then, she was 15 years old. She, with her grandfather, tried to enter Sudan from Eritrea, but she was arrested. Since then, she has been in prison in Eritrea. Her father abroad, I think in the US, and she is suffering. What are the charges against the girl? I am unable to understand. Why is she still in prison? If the government, Eritrean government, has any problem, any issues, it would be with the father of the girl. Government can try to bring back Abdu Ali. Why is that the daughter of the minister is suffering? Human Rights Watch, Amnesty, several other human rights organizations, they've been calling for the release of Siham, but she's still in prison. And she's not alone. Hundreds of others are in prison too. Journalists, politicians, activists. Abuna Fikri Hagos, Catholic bishop, was arrested in October. Not released so far. Some other bishops too. Members of Jehovah's Witnesses too. Writers as well. And some are dual nationals in prison. International community has been asking the Eritrean government to release them, but no releases so far. Eritrean government claims that these people who are in prison, they were involved in subversive activities, anti-state activities. That is why they were arrested, because they wanted regime change, like the ones arrested in 2001, I think, journalists, politicians who called for democratic change in Eritrea. And they were accused of plotting government change, that they were backed by foreign powers in prison. So, in the absence of an independent judiciary, how can the people get relief in Eritrea? It's difficult. But every year we see calls for the release of these people. Uh, but so far, Eritrean government is not listening. In fact, the number of those who are being imprisoned is increasing. On weekly, monthly basis, we hear new names who are being put in prisons in Eritrea. Thank you for watching.